I did not know that you could just say generate a PowerPoint for me and it's gonna what? You've got this wealth of knowledge and background in law and you're just applying it to improve your life.
No doubt. It was like before, I just wanted to get out. And now I feel totally rejuvenated. Anything that can help us do something better and help more people, it's amazing.
It's a pretty fun time to be kind of alive, right? Welcome everyone, I'm Mike Roberts, founder and CEO of both SpyFu and RivalFlow. And today I'm here with my good friend Kent Berk. Kent is a lawyer and serial entrepreneur. His law firm, Berk Law Group, specializes in probate law. He also has built and operated a rock climbing gym here in Scottsdale, and now he's into pickleball and is building a massive world-class, like 100,000 square foot facility. But the reason that I absolutely had to have Kent on is because of how he's used AI to absolutely transform his law practice. And he is, I think, on the leading edge of the intersection of AI, law, and marketing. And so if you're a lawyer, if you're into legal marketing, or if you're into your money, your life marketing in general, this is going to be the show for you. Thanks for being here, Kent. It's so awesome to share the stage with you.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. And I didn't just come up with any of these things on my own. It's been a total collaboration of reading and listening and talking to a lot of other like-minded professionals that are either like to tinker a lot like I do, or maybe a little bit lazy and want to try to figure out how to do things more efficiently and better, than anybody else. So it's my pleasure. I'm glad to share with you.
It's a pretty fun time to be kind of alive, right? Like here we are, just like, you've got this wealth of knowledge and background in law and business, and you're just applying it to sort of improve your life ultimately, right?
No doubt. And, anything that can help us do something better, quicker, and help more people more efficiently is, you can't really argue much against that, even though I've talked to a lot of attorneys that have been somewhat reluctant to either admit it or to implement AI. I think the time has come where you either have to use it in your practice, or others who are using it are going to far exceed you. And as I'm sure you know, in business, like, you don't have to be 100% better than your competitors to crush them. Maybe 20% better is sufficient most of the time. And AI alone, if you just use it a fraction of the time, will easily allow you to be 20%, if not more, effective than your competitors.
Totally. So real quick, just I kind of know this, but I remember a time when I didn't know this. What is probate law?
So probate law is basically where you effectuate the transfer of wealth to one uh, from one person to another, and dealing with the affairs of incapacitated or vulnerable adults. So the primary things that we do are contested and litigated probate matters, and that includes anything from a will or trust contest involving allegations of lack of mental capacity or undue influence, sometimes fraud or forgery, and then also all sorts of claims when somebody is still living.
Do you guys specialize in like helping people that are vulnerable? How do you get customers ultimately?
A lot of referrals. I've had the firm 29 years this April,
Mm-hmm.
and seen a lot of law firms come and go, including a big law firm that I started with, I guess, almost 35 years ago. And so we just know a lot of people, and a lot of people know us. So we get a lot of referrals, even from professionals or attorneys that we don't even know. And I teach a lot of seminars. I've done a lot of presenting with some distinguished colleagues on AI in the law and some other areas, including a program we're going to do this spring. And and then we have a very robust presence on the web. Our website, we've invested a lot of time and effort into a lot of good content, and then we have leveraged AI. Thank you to RivalFlow AI for helping us just take our website and our organic search results to the next level.
Thanks for that glorious segue. Honestly, like one of the joys of my life, right? Ultimately, I try to build products that solve problems for people, and ultimately, over my life, I've had like hundreds of thousands of customers, but most of them I don't know in advance, right? Like you get people from all over the world that sign up for SpyFu or RivalFlow, and eventually I run into them sometimes at like a trade show or like occasionally like in the wild, like the supermarket or whatever. It's pretty rare, but it happens. um but but you start out with like your circle of friends, people and rarely does that overlap, right? Rarely does like a friend of mine actually wind up using a product that I've built and actually have good results. And so this is like not a singular moment in my life, but a rare moment where I get to actually so Kent and I are on a board of directors for the office, but we're office neighbors. And so I happen to be there, because it's an annual meeting and Kent runs the board. And we were talking about our businesses, and Kent's like, "Oh, I used RivalFlow and it actually worked." And I was like, "You used RivalFlow? Somebody used it! Somebody I know." It was such a good feeling. So selfishly, I really wanted to get you on here, also to just talk about how that happened. Like, how did you wind up actually? I mean, okay, so I gave everybody on the board of directors like a free license, but not everybody uses it. And I give friends these things, but ultimately you jumped in 2 feet first. And tell me actually how you wound up using RivalFlow. Let me switch to show it. There's us, and here is your RivalFlow account.
Yeah.
So
So thanks to you, set me up with an account, and I had, used SpyFu for a while, and that worked and was helpful. But I'm looking for the most bang for my buck, basically, and haven't paid for clicks in a long time. We have a real niche area, so we just haven't needed to do that. But when I saw RivalFlow, because I was already, playing with GPT and copying, copying, pasting content and saying, okay, help me rewrite it. I said,
right.
wow, this is like 10 steps beyond that, because I can just pull up a page and there's suggestions and it analyzes and tells you what to, or makes you suggestions on what you could do. It was like, saved me so much time. I said, wow, I got to check this out. And I started using it and I was like, wow, at first you didn't have that tracking tool. And I was like, wow, we need a tracking tool. And like a week later, you had your tracking tool. So I was like really happy with that. And since you've had your tracking tool, you can see the results have been phenomenal. And um, and so I think it's great. And I've been spending a lot of time on my YouTube channel and doing videos and stuff like that, rather than just text-based content for the site. But I do plan on literally going through 100 pages or more of the site based on RivalFlow suggestions, because it can only help. There's just one anomaly there at the bottom, which
Yeah.
I'm not sure I
Well, it's like the worst
understand.
one.
Yeah, and
Oh,
everything has
so
been.
yeah, that's hard to say what actually is going on there, right?
Yeah,
Um,
but like you can sort it, you can see by clicks or impressions, which is a nice feature for the reporting as well, I noticed today. And it's been amazing in not that long of time.
so how do you wind up using it? Do you just take what we give you and paste it in there, or I mean, you like do you modify it? Do you
Yeah, thank you for asking that. And I have to say, with any AI assisted tool, especially as a lawyer, you cannot rely on it. You have to carefully read it, double check it,
Mhm.
authenticate it. If it's a case citation or something, you need to verify it through a reliable source like Westlaw or Lexis or whatever,
Mhm.
certified source that's verifiable and accepted by the courts. And so that's what we do typically in order to make sure, is like we'll export it to a Word document and then carefully read it. And then quick, if there's citations, we can upload it to Westlaw and stuff like that to make sure it's all accurate. There have been horror stories, Mike, of lawyers, believe it or not, blindly citing case citations from briefs entirely written by GPT. And the lawyers apparently would ask GPT, are these citations valid or something like that? Oh yeah, they're valid. And it was a complete hallucination. And the judges now are onto this, so they're checking and they have tools. And I forget what the sanction was, but it wasn't good for this lawyer. And it's not the only time. Yeah. So you cannot rely on anything that GPT outputs. And it can output a lot of stuff and be very helpful for you. But let me tell you the mindset I like to use. It's a 10-80-10. So you execute a good prompt, spending 10% of the time needed. You let GPT do 80% of the work, and then you spend 10% on the back end to analyze it, refine it, authenticate it, and make it and adopt it as your own. So I think that's a good approach or philosophy.
Yeah, I like that. That's I like how you break it down into just a simple rule like that. Um, I have heard about those cases with RivalFlow. What we do is we use your competitor's page as the source of truth. But of course, if your competitor's wrong, I think you still have to pay attention to that, especially in the sort of your money your life thing. But like that's at least our thesis, is that we can at least show you, here's how they answer this question with a link to it so that you can use that. But
Well, let me just then say, using that for the 10-80-10, really, when it comes to RivalFlow, it's only the 10 if that on the back end. So basically, RivalFlow is doing 90% of the work because it's identifying it. It's created the prompt basically for you to analyze your competitor's site and come up with content. And then you just need to basically make sure it is as accurate as you need it to be for whatever, purpose that you're using it.
what does this look like though for you? So if we take something like this, and what do you do to actually validate that it's true? Like how can we do better? How can if I had an infinite amount of money and compute or whatever that I could spend on this without using a human, or even if I'm using a human, how can I actually solve this problem better so that you don't have to spend the 10 on the back end? Or maybe I can give you like citations that match what's here. What can we do better?
If you could connect it to an authoritative, accepted legal resource, this is just speaking for lawyers. Like, Westlaw has a product that they've integrated, I think, with Case Text or Co-Counsel or something like that. But I want to be clear, what you're doing is reduce the amount of time to virtually nothing. Like,
Yeah.
it's allowed me to maintain pages on the site that I never would have spent time on. It's like really easy. The time that it's really really good. But if you want to know how you can make it like even better, it would be, as AI gets just better generally, I think your tool will get better. But if you wanted to like totally integrate, would be to tie it to some authoritative resource for legal authority.
Yeah, so that's a great point, because as the models do improve, and as the freshness of them improve, and we can bring in other things like Perplexity or whatever, to kind of get those citations. But you see how just recently R1 from has come out and basically radically reduced the cost of the reasoning stuff from like OpenAI O1. I'm not sure if you're I'm guessing you're probably following this. Everyone's following the DeepSeek thing. It's not like not some kind of secret, but
I just watched an hour-long story about that. It's
yeah.
scary. Yeah, it's
So
amazing.
I mean, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, thanks for being one of those people that's willing to jump in, and thanks for being the rare person in my life that's jumped in and used and gotten results out of RivalFlow, like as a But I want to talk more about the things, the other ways that you've used AI to really transform your business. I know you have some things to share. Do you want to uh,
Yeah. So I want to tell you, thank you so much for letting me use that. It's been really impactful. I intend to continue to use it, like I said, to, continue to go through more pages. And especially since I've seen the results through that results page. Frankly, I was like, okay, I'm going to do, a dozen pages, whatever, and then track the results through the tool and then see how it goes. And now that I'm seeing these results, it's like, it's really easy. You can maintain and update a page in like 3 to 5 minutes, whereas it could ordinarily take you hours to do that. So
For sure,
uh,
especially with things like this. And I think about like law in an interesting way because one of the things that what RivalFlow does is it reads your content and then it reads your competitors' content. It says what questions are they answering that you're not, right? And one of the things that we often, in marketing land, we talk about is a curse of knowledge. We have a curse of knowledge about our own product, but lawyers go through like years of school and 20, 30 years of practice, right? And so you're like the quintessential like super knowledgeable person about your subject, right? And you forgot oftentimes what it's like to be like somebody that doesn't even know what the word probate means, right? uh, and so that's the gaps that often exist. Like so much that like AI just finds these little things that are like, oh yeah, but this
well,
really basic thing that seems super obvious to you does not to everybody.
I have said to other lawyers that AI, the advantage of AI is that it can write to the level and the understanding that my readers will read to. Like I don't really write to the fourth grade level or whatever that the average reader that might be reading our website. And I'm not saying that's whatever the average reader level
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
And like, I'll give you an example. There's a rule that we have to, use as part of litigation. And if we were to just send the client and copy and paste the rule, the client probably would not fully understand. So I copied and pasted the rule instead to GPT and said to GPT, write a simple letter to the whatever grade level for the client summarizing our obligations, under this rule. And it did a beautiful job. And
I'll bet. Yeah.
we revised it and then used it as now we're using it as a template to send, to our clients.
Yeah,
So
it's interesting because we often think about like the advantages that it gives to like sort of English as a second language kind of people, or like where you want to like lift your sort of literacy level, but like you're kind of talking about taking things that are legal law stuff, contract law or probate law stuff, and just like making it a lot more digestible. It's
yeah.
um,
So I'd say the one most going now to your question of how else I've used AI, if we can, um, I want to just give you a little bit of background because I had mentioned earlier that I didn't just come up with this stuff, sitting here in my office. I've been participating starting about 2 years ago in a lawyer coaching program called Atticus Lawyer Coaching. And my practice advisor, Daniel Struna, and the other staff at Atticus have just been phenomenal. One of the things that they did last year, they had a monthly AI workshop collaboration where attorneys from all over the country would get online in a workshop and we'd have presenters and discussions. I presented a few times, including about what I'm about to show you. And this is what spurred and gave everyone ideas to feed off of each other. So that's just one suggestion for anybody looking to try to take advantage of AI, in addition to just reading about it and listening to podcasts, whatever you do. I think it's important to like actually collaborate with another human being, and they have a bunch of different programs and workshops. Various of their programs are free. Steve Riley has a podcast as well that's been just great, and it's just transformed my practice and my life. And so I had told you earlier that if it wasn't for this, had planned to retire and be done from practicing law. But now, like, I'm going to be practicing easily. It could be another 10 years based on this.
Yeah,
And
and,
so,
and not like you have to. It's because you want to, right? Because it's like it's something that's fulfilling to you, whereas before it wasn't.
exactly, exactly. It was like before, I just needed or wanted to get out, and now I feel totally rejuvenated. I'm taking a lot more time off, and it's like it's amazing the transformation. And so it's because of that that gave me the idea that I'll show you now,
Yeah.
and that is a basically a robust, integrated employee training hub. And for anybody that has a small business, I think everybody should know or knows that to take your business from just the average to the excellent, you have to have policies and procedures and workflows to make sure that routine tasks are documented and uniformly performed and known to all of the employees. And for a small business, though, that's difficult to do.
Yeah.
Who has the time to do an employee handbook, let alone evaluation criteria and key performance checklists and roles and responsibilities. So we basically, with the ideas from Atticus, built a custom GPT. This is in the OpenAI GPT team paid version of the GPT module, and you can create a, custom GPT where you basically tell it what you want it to be able to focus on, and then you can upload documents to serve as its knowledge base. So this is our
Fantastic. Yeah.
yeah, so this is our custom Berk Law Group knowledge base that we uploaded all the materials to, and then use that to then update the materials to add different workflows, to add roles and responsibilities, key performance criteria, and so forth. Once we had all the basically the written materials updated, we then used the knowledge base to create the training material to train all of our employees. So we would ask, for example, create a PowerPoint for our ethics module, and it should create it, and it will lay out all the slides, and then you can ask it to export it to PowerPoint, and then you can download it and then open it in PowerPoint to add all the bells and whistles and so forth. So
I love this because I feel like I know a lot of things, but I did not know that you could just say generate a PowerPoint for me, and it's gonna what?
so look, it's even
Yeah,
asking me
it's
now. Do
asking.
you
Yeah.
want
Okay.
to?
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So let's
Let's do
say
it. Yeah.
okay,
I
we're
want to
going
see
to
it.
say
Yeah. I want
yes.
to see this. Yes.
Okay, so but while it's doing that, I want to tell you, once I got into this, I'm going to show you in a minute our WordPress
Yeah.
Berk Law Group Training Hub, and
Well,
one of the modules wouldn't do the report the way I wanted. So I asked GPT to output in a zip file a WordPress custom plugin that after about, I don't know, 17 tries, finally I got it to work. But GPT output a a zip file with all the files to upload to WordPress to get a plugin to work. So
okay.
that's yeah.
That is incredible. But before we move on from this, I want to see if you don't mind. Just can you just show us how you created this just in ChatGPT? Like because this is actually just ChatGPT. It's a custom GPT, but I frankly have never seen anybody build it.
Yeah, so edit GPT. So in the create module, so I'm in the GPT creation module. So you go here to create, and then you can chat with it and basically tell it, okay, we're building a private knowledge base for our law firm, and
This
then
is
you can have a conversation of what you're training this bot to do.
this
Okay.
is on ChatGPT dot like OpenAI, chat.openai.com.
Yes.
And like what happens if you hit that back arrow? Yeah. What does that
So
do?
Yeah.
Because I'm
So
not seeing your
see,
full screen. Oh,
once you
there we are.
open the side panel,
Yeah.
you go to, you actually have to open up your account
Hmm.
and, and then I think it's a new project. They changed it, but you can even ask it how to create it. But
Okay.
basically, once you're in, yeah,
Oh,
see,
there's your edit GPT.
yeah, so
And
edit GPT.
that would let you like put in new things, right?
Yeah, so there. Okay, so then you go to configure and you can give it your basic instructions and then conversation starters. And then you can upload all your documents that you want to serve as the knowledge base for questions that are asked of this particular bot. And
Beautiful.
then, yeah, and then you can share it and then you can embed that link to that GPT
Hmm.
on the the site that I'm going to show you.
Okay, and so then you start asking it questions to build out like your training hub.
Correct. So you then once there are a couple of phases. The first phase was to basically ask it questions about all the existing employee handbook material that we had, which was incomplete. So we asked it, okay, generate the roles and responsibilities for all of these positions.
Hmm.
Review this employee handbook and give us ideas for gaps
Yeah.
uh, in the material that should be included based on an explanation of what our firm does and some conversation with the
Hmm.
bot to train it on and explain what we do. um, and then once we got all that refined and finalized, we then uploaded that to create the knowledge base that I'm showing you now to create the training material, to create PowerPoint presentations like this. And then we also used it to create video presentation outlines, uh, some of which had corresponding PowerPoints. Okay. And so we created all the basically training material. And then we used it to create quiz questions that we embedded in our WordPress, basically learning management system, that I'll show you. So you could basically say now, okay, uh, create quiz questions for that module, and then it will create them, and then we just copied and pasted, or we edited, and then we copied and pasted the quiz questions into the WordPress site. And then you can have a conversation too of like sometimes it will output narrative questions where we only wanted to have multiple choice or sorting or true false or single answer type questions because we
Hmm.
didn't want to have to grade anything.
Yeah, I think that this is a really useful way. I mean, learning management and basically meeting you exactly where you are with any kind of like anything in all of human just sort of knowledge. Like it'll just like meet you exactly where you are and close the gaps for you. It's an incredible learning
Yeah.
tool.
Yeah.
Um,
So my wife, who I have to give a shout out to, Angie, who you've met,
mhm.
she's retiring from being a physics and biology teacher at a Scottsdale High School and is going into adult learning design, which is basically what I'm doing in creating this training hub.
Oh
So it was
yeah.
really because of her that kind of knocked me over the edge to create this whole hub and to use GPT in this fashion. So what we did was we then created a private website. Do you have any other questions about the GPT or anything?
No, I mean it's weird that it never seemed to. Did it ever produce the PowerPoint or like
Yeah, it did not. I'm going to ask it again.
that was weird. I mean, I know that it should, but it
Yeah, it
maybe
usually
it just
does.
stalled.
Um, it really isn't an AI thing, but just so you know, once you open it in PowerPoint, there is a designer tab and a quick or smart art
Hmm.
tools in PowerPoint that once I exported the PowerPoint in this fashion to PowerPoint and opened it, like in 10 minutes, I created a full PowerPoint with, 10 to 15 slides for any of the modules that we were using PowerPoints to teach the material. Like I said, some of them we used videos.
That's such a cool hack. Like, I don't know why I didn't assume that that was possible. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just kind of have to sometimes just YOLO your way into something and be like, I think that probably AI will just do it for me, right? Like, Amanda, did you know Amanda's on here, but not on here? But did you know that uh, you could just generate a
I have
PowerPoint?
not used it to make a PowerPoint. I will.
I mean, because you could make a PowerPoint, but also you could probably use it to make a what are those LinkedIn carousels? Like same basic idea, right? Like a slideshow is a slideshow. So like you could take your manual and make it into like this sort of visual presentation that's like just slides. It's kind of cool. I had no idea. I don't know
Yeah.
why I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can, I think, output, like I said, in almost any file now. And I haven't tested this in a while, but the PowerPoint files that we were able to export were plain vanilla, basically just text only. And then, but with the tools in at least the current version of PowerPoint, it took like 10 minutes per PowerPoint to customize it and spruce it up and edit as necessary.
Yeah, I'm sure that you can just add your once you've got it in, then you've got your template, and you just kind of can for an internal presentation, it's gonna crush it, right?
This is this private training hub site that we built using the URL blgidea.com. BLG for Berk Law Group, obviously, but IDEA for integrity, dedication, excellence, advancement. Integrity, dedication, excellence have always been, as long as I can remember, more than 20 years, our mission statement. But when we built this training hub, we added the A for advancement because this training hub is the foundation for the advancement of all of our employees, and all of them are advancing in other areas, which is part of what I'm learning through Atticus. But I like to call it the bigidea.com because it sounds a lot better than BLG idea. So,
Yeah. Gotcha. That's pretty sweet.
And so here's the home page, and here's the different courses that we plan to build out. The only one that has been built out right now is the policies and procedures course, and this course is divided up into different lessons that have videos, some of or PowerPoints associated with each one. They have lesson content, which may include either a PowerPoint or a video or both or more than one, depending. And you can see as I scroll through here, each one also has a corresponding quiz. So we built out each of these sections with, like I said, the supporting training material. Some of the videos are simple, like 1 minute screen captures. We use the Windows clipping or snipping tool to create some of them. Just a little simple thing. Here's how you, transfer a call or whatever the case might be. The thinking there being, we only want to work 8 hours in a day, and the more efficiencies that we can gain by avoiding somebody tapping their neighbor on the shoulder, how do I do this or that? Something that is reasonably repeated has to be recorded for purposes of training and reference in the event that someone needs to look back. So I'll just go to, let's see, the first one, the ethics one. This is a PowerPoint, and we used after we created the PowerPoints, we exported them to a tool called Flip Deck or Flipbook that allows you to flip through like this. And all of these graphics in here were added, like I said, in PowerPoint in minutes by just using the designer and smart art tools. And it's smart enough to associate these icons with the text.
Oh, yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah.
I, I was expecting it to look a lot, a lot more, I mean, I don't know, internal, like that looks really good.
Yeah.
Super pro.
So, um, so that's one of the lessons, and then each one has a quiz that you can go through, and it keeps track of your progress. And then we have different hypotheticals. You can check your answer. The way we set it up was that everyone in the we ended up with 180 quiz questions. Okay. And we set it up to where all of our team members, 12 of us, including me, had to get 100% accuracy on the quiz, but that everybody could take the quizzes more than once. And
Hmm.
everybody in the firm has completed it. And the feedback that I've got is, very, very positive. And everybody likes having no, I'd say, fires or crises or anything. Everybody knows what needs to be done. And, aside from, little nuances here or there, people are there. It's happening.
That's super impressive.
And so just a couple of the things real quick here. I want to show you, but I don't see the drop. Oh, here it is. So we created also, there's nothing here yet, but we're creating a blog. Every employee handbook is a dynamic document that's being updated all the time. So as things are being updated, we are going to post to a private blog the new updates. And then when it comes time every year, every 6 months to update the actual formal handbook, our office manager can just look at the blog and say, okay, we have 7 blog posts, those just need to be integrated, whatever, and here's the next edition of the actual printed legal handbook document.
Oh
um,
yeah, that's interesting. And honestly, integrating it back in, right? Like, okay, so like I feel like the old way of doing this, or let's say the current way might be to just add those as appendices, just like tack them onto the end. Like you're like, oh, we made these videos about how to like transfer a call because we learned at some point that like that we added that in, so here this goes at the very end. But realistically, you might already have a section on, like, I don't know, office, you know phone things, and or whatever, office communications, and so it really should reintegrate back in. But like kind of like the lesson of RivalFlow is that we can like read existing documents and integrate like new content right into that existing stuff. So this is like one of those cases where, I mean, obviously it can't use RivalFlow for that realistically, but AI is capable of helping to just sort of maintain that kind of a knowledge base.
Yeah. So it could be an appendix, Mike, but at least it's a uniform or a centralized spot where everything can be housed. So if we hire somebody mid-year, then we can say, okay, here's the site with the blog that has
Hmm.
any updates so far. It's all, right there for current training.
Yeah.
Um, and so here are all of the resources. This is all the support material that is the videos and PowerPoints and so forth, the recorded screen captures and so forth that we've recorded so far. And
So I think how long did it take you to do all this, right? Like you built this entire sort of training hub, and with the questions and answers, which seems like a nearly like an entire product for your company. But how long did you ultimately spend?
yeah, we did most of this in 2 weeks, or and a lot of it, like the bulk of it, in a weekend. My wife and I went up to our cabin in Flagstaff, and we just hunkered down. It was like, okay, we divided it up, and it was just so easy because, like I said, each one took, it varied, but 10, 15, 20 minutes for each of these resources, and
Kind of
some
an
of them are only 1 minute. They're very, very short.
Yeah, interesting collaboration, right? Because she's into this, adult learning at a pretty high level, and you're kind of like this test subject. Was that a pretty, uh, you know, fun project to work on?
Oh, absolutely. I love working with her, and it's great, and it was a win-win. And I think she learned a lot too. And she's really into using different technology and learning management systems and so forth. Um, would your audience be interested in learning about the back end of the WordPress site and the learning management tool that we purchased to plug into the site
I
to
think so,
create?
yeah, because because you want to be able to, I want to be able to take people from like, okay, so we showed you how to build the GPT, like it's just go into Chat GPT and create custom GPT, add your documents, give it some prompts, and then start asking it questions to build the stuff, and straight up it'll build the friggin' PowerPoints for you, which is pretty crazy. But if we don't take you all the way through to the end, then we're leaving you hanging. So let's do it.
Okay.
Show
All
us.
right, so you can see here I'm logged into WordPress, with the familiar banner at the top. Can you see that?
Hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to click on that and go to the back end. And so you can see here, this is the Learn Dash LMS or Learning Management System plugin. And this is, I think they have a free version, but we paid, it was like, I forget, $100 or something like that to get the paid version. And it allows you to set up courses, lessons, topics, quizzes. And there's a lot involved in setting it all up and stuff. And there are some AI tools in here. For example, if you go to courses, you can create a course outline from AI. You can, if you have a YouTube playlist, it will create a course or lessons from a YouTube playlist that you already have, and then you can create your quizzes or whatever that you want to correspond with those videos. You can see here as you flip through, you can add new lessons, topics, quizzes, and so forth. I think there's another AI function here somewhere. Yeah, create a quiz from AI. So you can actually click on that and give prompts, and you can tell it how many questions or whatever else that you want, and it will create the quizzes for you. I don't think it creates all the questions and everything, but it'll create the outline. Um, and then there's a way to also link through OpenAI. You can purchase or get an API, a secret API key that you can embed in your WordPress site to to create basically a virtual instructor on your WordPress site through integrating in OpenAI.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that kind of like follow up question, or like basically like you could essentially have like an essay question grader guy. You know what I mean? Like that where you have to like, it's not necessarily a multiple choice question, but you just have to pass like this sort of interview with the AI. It would be pretty interesting, because you could kind of prove that you know your stuff faster if it just continuously asks you harder and harder questions. I don't know if
Yeah.
that probably doesn't exist. It's more like a
But
future thought, but
there's much more robust learning management systems, some of which may or may not integrate with WordPress. But this is just what we used. Um, but for bigger companies that want a true learning management system, this may or may not be the route you want to go. But there's a lot of customization that you can add through like um, uh, pats on the back if somebody gets the answer correct, or encouragement if somebody gets it wrong. My
mm,
wife added all kinds of gifts and things like that for that
right.
purpose. And then you can have certificates and things like that, as you can see in the panel here. You can even set up paid courses where people have to register and pay to attend a course. And then uh, you can see the D Flipbook plugin, and then we use the Ultimate Member plugin to restrict access to registered users.
So you were saying that you actually had something that was missing, some part of some functionality that you wanted out of this that it didn't produce, and you actually used ChatGPT to write a plugin.
Yeah, I did this plugin right here.
Nice.
I told GPT, hey, I want a report from Learn Dash LMS for WordPress, and just explain what I wanted. Help me create a plugin that I can upload. And then, we had a dialogue and I tested it. It took, like I said, 15 or 17 times before it worked correctly, but I finally got it to work.
Nice. Have you ever thought about making this whole thing that you've built into like a product? Would you ever do that? Is that anything that interests you?
Sure. I mean, I've thought about it.
Yeah. I bet you could I mean, you got all the domain knowledge. You could maybe just like dominate like this sort of lawyer learning management kind of training system, It would be
We'll see.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I could make ends meet at that rate. Like I charge $600 an hour for my time as an attorney. People really think I'm that worth it to create a training hub? I don't know. And the other thing is, people, you don't need me.
Oh yeah,
It's not that difficult. Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. It's a product, so that you automate all that stuff so that they can self-serve. This has been an amazing conversation. We've covered a lot of ground. You know what I didn't ask you about, Kent, is how are you able to use AI in ways that isn't related to the cases themselves?
Well, I've used AI in a multitude of areas for marketing, using RivalFlow and using other AI tools that, like, for example, video production. We're doing a lot, on our YouTube channel, other content for our website. In fact, one of the really cool things that we recently did on our guardianship page is we embedded a quiz on that page. And I think my wife may have used AI to help her figure out how, I know she used AI to help her figure out how to embed a quiz on an existing WordPress page. So the point there is just you can ask AI to help you do anything, whether it's as simple as how to do an Excel formula for something you can't figure out. And Google wants to give you 17 steps, whereas AI is just, here's the formula, change this to that and that to this if you need to know how to do it. It's like really easy. So, that's been, very, very helpful also. And then for the law, we've used it in a lot of different ways. First of all, you need to be aware of confidentiality and privacy. There are numerous ways that we have explored using AI for case-related activities. One thing to be clear about as a lawyer or other legal professional is confidentiality, privacy of client materials. I don't know what the current settings are, but in the OpenAI, you can go into your settings and make sure that you have deactivated the point to use my prompts to train the model, turn that off, and there may be some other settings. But as long as your account is password protected and you have that turned off, it is as secret as what I can tell that even Westlaw is. If you were to upload a client brief for analysis to Westlaw, it's the same basic privacy statement that they agree to through OpenAI that Thomson Reuters does through Westlaw. So that being said, as long as we're able to ensure confidentiality, which we are, we have used it to help generate, for example, interrogatory questions, a request for production, where we have a case where we're like, okay, here's the set of requests and documents that we want from the other side. Here's a little bit about the case. We tell AI, can you think of anything else that we haven't thought of to request? And lo and behold, it comes up with a few things that, given a few more hours and enough time, we probably would have thought of it. But in about 2 seconds, we had what we knew was a really complete set.
Yeah.
of requests. Another thing that I think is going to be really phenomenal, and that is for document review. In our cases, we get a lot of medical and other records that need to be analyzed, oftentimes looking for key words or descriptions that might indicate dementia or Alzheimer's or some sort of physical or mental impairment. Those are very important in cases whether the person is still alive or has passed away. And to have thousands of pages of documents easily analyzed and summarized will be a huge time saver, just like with any other AI tool. We can't rely on it yet. But I've been working with another custom GPT where I have an Excel spreadsheet template with headings of what I want to track for, let's say, all medical records. It's, the date, whoever did it, there's a lot of different data points. So I have a shell or blank Excel spreadsheet that I've uploaded to create my custom GPT and said, for any medical records we upload to have you review, I want you to output all the data for each of the points in this Excel spreadsheet. It hasn't gotten that perfect yet, but it's getting better and will be a time saver, at least to create the basic shell of a template or of the input that then my paralegal can go through and double check and verify and do whatever.
Yeah, and
And
imagine
then
you can have it give you excerpts where so that it's sourcing it properly from the documents and so on.
Yeah, and then just generally for drafting, just running arguments by it, looking for analogies or metaphors or some ability to use rhetoric that might bolster our arguments in a meaningful way. There's a lot. And let me just tell you another reason why I'm passionate about that is I think it's ethically our responsibility as attorneys to be knowledgeable. There's an ethical rule that requires all attorneys to keep up to date on technology and how that affects our practices. And there will come a time when it's required to be knowledgeable about AI in order to comply with that ethical rule. I also think there will come a time when clients start asking whether you're using AI because they know you will be more efficient if you use it. And if you're not, there will be clients that will be looking for a more efficient alternative. And then I think there's going to come a time where it could significantly affect pricing for hourly attorneys that only spend 10 minutes to do something that used to take hours to do.
Mm-hmm. Man, I love that. Like, I love it's like clearly you're a lawyer and you like make excellent arguments because you started out in like this spot with this where it's like, okay, look, we have to be confidential with all this data. It's the customer's data, and here's how we know that we're honoring that contract. And then and you said all this before you even talk about uploading medical records and doing all this stuff to produce the to produce all the output. I mean, I love it, man, because it's kind of this area where people waffle back and forth on, and you're saying, it's your responsibility to use it, and it ain't no different than using Westlaw. It's just a lot better, right? It's a different tool for a different time, and ultimately, you're going to need to use it. I love it. So I'm completely persuaded. I mean, I don't think that I had necessarily a bias on that part coming in, but I've heard people talk about, what the implications of AI and law are, and you just articulated it probably about as cleanly as I've ever heard it done. So we're probably going to have to cut that one out and just like make it into something that we send all over the place. It was a beautiful argument. Well, look, I know we've gone a little bit long, and I know that your time is valuable, and I definitely appreciate you showing up and being here today. It was a fantastic, a wonderful conversation, and I hope that our listeners got a lot out of it because I did, actually. It was an insightful conversation. Thanks again for coming.
Anytime. My pleasure, Mike. My pleasure. Thank you.